I left Mr. Montanescu's office making a mad dash to the waiting car. The detective brought me back to my dorm, handed me his card, and left. I guess Mr. Montanescu had designated him to help me. I suppose anticipating death is trying at best, but I felt a keen curiosity. I looked over the check again and decided that I needed to prepare. I fired up my laptop in search of a new home. This was the last week of classes, so it freed me up to go house hunting with an agent. What I liked about Suffolk County was that if one wanted privacy, one got it. I found a two-bedroom cottage in one of the smaller towns. There was so much land between it and the neighbors that I felt safe enough to ensure privacy, and it was still close enough to SCCC. The next thing I needed to do was switch over to night classes. Decided to take summer courses. That way, I'd finish faster. Then I packed. I didn't have family, so I didn't have to explain much. My grandmother raised me, and she had been more than happy when I elected to move out to stay in the dorm when I started college. And with my scholarship, she wasn't obligated to do anything else. I met with the real estate agent at the cottage. I liked the place right away and told him that I was interested in buying it. He explained that apart from any major repairs, I was responsible for everything else. I told him no problem. A month later, after doing some minor renovations, I moved into my new home, and I also bought a second-hand car. I was running low on money, but I had everything I thought I'd need. Mr. Montanescu's generosity allowed me to buy the house and car. The previous owners were an elderly couple, and they replaced the boiler, appliances, and put in a new roof. I made Mr. Montanescu's check out for $800,000 and deposited it into my account. I made it for that amount so that I would have everything covered. What it didn't cover, I would make do with my part-time job. The last week in July, I knew the end was near. The entire day before my death, I felt sleepy and felt as if I was moving through thick syrup. Before going to bed that night, I marked my calendar. I was not aware that I had fallen asleep. 1 minute I was lying in bed, and the next I was in a dark place. I heard a male voice speaking a language I couldn't understand. I knew instinctively that it was Serge's voice I heard. Suddenly, not only could I understand what he was saying, but I could also see him. He looked better than when I was trying to rescue him. He looked sad, though. I am sorry I cannot be with you, to care for you. It was not my intention to abandon you or transfer my gift to you for that matter. Vampires are usually invincible, but I died. With poison in my bloodstream, it was very easy to throw me overboard from my friend's yacht that night. I suppose I deserved it. I had gotten evidence that could harm too many of my so-called friends. I was an investigator for the Vampire Council, and with the evidence I'd found, too many powerful people would have found themselves in a hairy mess. Vampires were being made without permission. Those vamps were then set loose on unsuspecting humans for sport. While I can't be with you, I can, however, guide you. Here are some things you must know, and these simple rules you must follow. I awoke 2 weeks later. I sat up in bed and marveled at how bright my bedroom was. I could sense that it was night, and the curtains were drawn, but I could see everything clearly. The next thing I noticed was that I felt nothing and everything. It's hard to explain, and I could hear all the night creatures outside. I could hear the bugs skittering along the ground. There was an owl in the trees by the house, and larger critters hunting deep in the woods behind the house. I was prepared. I reached over to grab the card the detective had given me. I was hungry. I called him, and he said he'd come for me. I got up and showered and dressed. My kitchen was spotless, and I'd bought food that I thought I could eat. I experimented with eggs, and that was a bust. It came up before I could fully swallow it. Then I tried a glass of milk. That stayed down for all of 2 minutes. I tried fruit, and that was a no-go as well. I was disappointed. I cleaned up and waited for the detective. The card he gave me said that his name was Eric Trueblood. I wondered if it was a made-up name. He said that he'd been a vampire for 50 years. Would I have to change my identity further down the line, too? I heard the car outside and quickly went out to meet him. Tonight, he was dressed casually and not on duty. I made note of where we were going and realized that we didn't go far. He drove us into the town of Coram. The underground club was not very impressive looking on the outside. However, I found it quite appropriate once we had gone inside. The club catered to bikers. The assortment of motorcycles parked out front was a dead giveaway. There was music and dancing, and the patrons sitting in booths were a mixed age group. Eric took my hand and led me further into the back of the club. Several pairs of eyes followed our progress. He led me through a door and down a set of stairs that ended abruptly at a heavy steel door. With a hand gesture, the door opened to a tunnel that might have been half a mile long to another door. That door opened to the real underground club. The atmosphere was completely different to what I'd seen and felt upstairs. There could have been about 15 to 20 people in the large room, all sitting at tables. The music was different too, a cross between rock and heavy metal, which to my surprise I found I liked. Eric steered me to the only vacant table left. We sat, and he raised his hand where a waiter immediately approached for our order. Eric nodded to him, and he bowed slightly and left to fill our order. He returned shortly with a carafe filled to the top and 2 wine glasses. I wasn't surprised that vampires truly drank out of wine glasses, just like in the movies. Eric poured himself a glass and one for me. By that time, I felt as if my insides were gnawing at each other. I reached for the glass slowly. I could feel everyone watching me as if they all knew that I was a newbie. I took a sip and almost moaned. It was so good and didn't taste like blood. That metallic taste was what I remembered blood tasting like, but this was like a spectacularly aged wine. I tried not to guzzle it down, and I thought I was well behaved. I didn't try to lick the inside of the glass clean. "You can have some more if you want, Victoria," Eric said when I gently put the empty glass down. I gave him a brief smile and poured another glass, this time filling it to the brim. I drank it slowly again until it was gone. "You're showing very disciplined restraint for a newborn," Eric said with a smile. "I wanted to make Serge proud," I replied. "I would like to believe that he is. I didn't know him, but I knew of his sire. They are an immensely powerful family." I didn't know what to say to that. I didn't think I could ask questions about Serge or his sire comfortably here. I could hear clearly what everyone was talking about or thinking, courtesy of Serge's extra gift. "Tell me about yourself, detective. Is Trueblood your real name?" I asked. "Believe it or not, it is." I looked around self-consciously. People were watching me, and I didn't understand why. Why are they staring at me? Did I do something wrong? "You are a newborn, and you are a Montenescu. We don't usually get highborn vampires here." "Highborn? What is that?" "Rodrigo Montenescu is over 600 years old. Serge was 300 years old. And now there is you." "That doesn't explain what a highborn is," I argued. "Highborns are royalty in the vampire community." "I cannot claim highborn status because my sire is dead. Rodrigo told me that I would be on my own. The family has not extended their hand out to me. So, I guess I will exist alone." Somehow, I understood that belonging was important to vampires. Living long lives has isolated them. They have a strong sense of family. Serge explained it to me when I asked him. "They are too proud to leave you out in the cold. It would reflect badly on their image. Don't worry, they'll come around." "If you say so." "Does age make one highborn?" I asked. Eric shook his head. "The Montenescu line are old world royals. Legend has it that the first Montenescu was first cousin to King George I. I snorted. I didn't think that helped me at all. "Word of advice until you are comfortable with your situation. You should keep away from the living," said Eric. I looked at him horrified. "I still have school. I can't just quit." "You have shown great restraint your first time out. However, you are still new and bloodlust is dangerous." "Does that mean I will lose control of myself and attack people?" He nodded. "It could happen. Hunger is unpredictable in the beginning. Right now you feel satisfied, but the hunger could come back when you least expect it. The more you ignore it, the stronger it gets until you can't control it." "Have you experienced bloodlust?" He shook his head. "No, I had my sire to care for me." Rodrigo said the same thing. What does caring for an heir entail? "Your sire cares for you by teaching you how to protect yourself, how to hunt if there isn't a food source nearby. He also keeps you well fed to avoid bloodlust, and he helps you discover your talent. What kind of talents do we have? That depends. Some can hear thoughts, others have the power to compel. Your senses are sharper, and you are faster and stronger. You mentioned a community. Where is it? We are everywhere. Bankers, lawyers, doctors, nurses, all the professionals. I am in law enforcement and you're a student. You must become more aware of your surroundings. Can we tell just by looking, or do we feel it when another is around? You will know instantly. Forget what you've seen in the movies. We like to keep to ourselves, and there is one rule we all adhere to. We have territories. Each clan controls one. Trespass and you will be in a fight for your life. Be nice and ask permission, Eric warned. This sounded serious. Is there a map I can follow? Territories accommodate 10 to 15, and they coexist safely. You are outside it, so you are fine for now. You've chosen well. Your home is isolated, and this territory is larger. The one thing that is allowed is places like this. They are neutral. Everyone is welcome. I have read books that tell stories about other supernatural creatures. Do they exist, and do I have to beware of them? There are others, but as I said, we keep to ourselves, Eric insisted. Eric was frustrating me. What others are there? I asked. Witches, lichens, and cats are the most common. There are very few in this state. Rodrigo said that Serge hadn't meant to turn me. Can I turn someone too? You are too young, and besides, there are rules in place. Too many vampires make it a potential for war between the clans and humans. It is forbidden to turn someone without permission from the Vampire Council. Good to know. I looked around me, noting those who had taken a sudden interest in me. I pretended not to notice. Their murmurings were clearly audible. I could hear every word. Do you want to order another carafe? Asked Eric. Are you buying? I countered. Your first night is free. It is an unspoken rule in this club. I benefit because I'm with you, but the next time you come, you'll have to pay. How much? I asked. It'll be $80 per carafe. I guess I'd better keep my part-time job then. I tried to eat before you came for me, and I couldn't keep anything down. How many times a day do I have to consume blood? You can eat human food after you have first baptized your system with blood. After tonight, you can eat. Blood keeps us alive, however, because our metabolism is unique. We derive energy from both food and blood. I guess all those movies about vampires are fantasy, huh? And how long can I stay awake during the day? Eric's face turned to stone. Didn't you ask Montenescu those questions? I am not obligated to you, he said agitatedly. Wow, was that a cold shoulder he was showing me? Talk about an abrupt about-face. I really was on my own, I realized. I'm sorry to burden you. I thought that since you are a police detective and a vampire, you'd protect and serve. There is something you must understand. We are not human, and we have rules. Without a sire, you are an outcasted vampire. You are on your own. After tonight, don't expect me to be so accommodating. His tone was even colder now. I stood up. I was angry, but he was right. I was an outcast, a rogue vampire who didn't have a sire to care for me. I had to be on guard. Even though I was a vampire, I realized that I was still me. I pulled out my phone and called for an Uber. The conversation around the club had changed. They heard what Eric said to me. I looked down at Eric. He was finishing the carafe and had dismissed me. I tried not to feel hurt, but I was. Detective Trueblood, I understand my position now, and I will not bother you any further. Goodbye.